Thank you for introduction. I'm Chihiro Saegusa. I am a PhD student at the University of Tokyo, and also I am a researcher at Kao Corporation, which is Japanese cosmetics company. And my presentation topic today is about human facial attractiveness perception. And more specifically, I would like to talk about the gender difference in the facial attractiveness evaluation. Okay. There are so many researches about facial attractiveness, and why does it attract researchers' interest? The first factor is its social importance. As you know, there are many stereotypes. For example, beauty is associated with upward economic mobility. And also there is a stereotype that what is beautiful is good, where people perceive the person as having good personality if their appearance is attractive. And also they have advantage in mate choice or dating. So the attractive appearance can impact your social life. And in terms of the process of human facial attractiveness perception, the process is very automatic and rapid. For example, Willis and Todorov reported that impression formation from face can be done only in 100 milliseconds. And there is another report that 13 milliseconds is actually enough to judge its attractiveness evaluation. And in this case, participants reported that they could not see the face. So this perception is taken under consciousness. Okay. Then, what makes the face attractive? There are some researches from morphological aspect of the face, and those researches say that averageness or symmetry or sexual dimorphism can make the face attractive. In sexual dimorphism, for male faces, testosterone accelerates the growth of the jaw, cheekbones, and brow ridges. So these features are exaggerated in male's face. And in female faces, estrogen inhibits the growth of these features, so it results in the more flat face with big eyes and lips. So what they reported is if these features are exaggerated, the face can be more attractive. And these factors are often explained by the viewpoint of evolutionary psychology that insists we perceive the attractiveness of face as the marker of having good, strong genes. And here the researchers support this view, but based on this viewpoint, there should be the difference in male and female in evaluating facial attractiveness because we have the different purposes. Okay. And in these researches also a gender difference is discussed, but mainly their focus is on morphology of the face and also the personal traits that can be extracted from the morphology. But our interest is how the visual process is different in male and female, because as you know, there are feature processing and configure processing involved in face perception in general. And in feature processing, we process individual features like eyes, mouth, nose independently. And in configure processing, there are some kind of meanings in it if we apply this word to face perception. But here are the examples. For example, first one is first order relations. And second one is holistic processing, where we glue together the features into a gestalt to perceive the face. And the third one is second order relations, where we perceive the distances among the features. And I was planning to say that configure processing is special in face perception, but after Professor Phillips' presentation, maybe it's not appropriate to say that. But there are some evidences already that both visual and computer processing are involved in facial attractiveness evaluation as well. And in this research, they didn't insist that this is visual, but what they did in their experiment is ask participants to evaluate isolated facial parts attractiveness, and also they asked them to evaluate the attractiveness of whole face and took the correlations between them. And actually they were correlated very well. So in that case, we can evaluate facial parts without any context around the eyes or nose or mouth. Okay. So it shows maybe visual processing is also involved in the, or visual information is used in facial attractiveness evaluation. And there is also the evidence that holistic processing is involved in facial attractiveness evaluation.
Excuse me, could you quickly indicate what the criteria were that Alice and Shane, what the criteria were for each individual?
For being configured. Well, it's difficult question because in the face researches, researchers tend to use this word in many ways. And the three examples I showed here is what Mora defined in his paper. And he said there are three kinds inside the computer processing. And like first one is we perceive the face because its features are arranged in like two eyes above nose, that is above mouth. And in the second one, it is presented as gestalt, like gluing together. And the third one is like the distances between the features. And in classical facial researches, they use like inverted face, or they like composite effects to investigate whether it is configured or not. But even in those researches, there should be many kinds of these factors, and it's very difficult to specify which one is actually involved. Thank you. Okay, here, in the current study, we aimed at investigating potential differences between male and female observers in the use of part-based and configured information for facial attractiveness judgment. And in the first experiment, actually, we simply tested how the attractiveness of facial parts correlated with whole face in following the Terry's and Davis experiment. And in a post hoc way, we compared male and female observers. So here, we used 58 color photos of Asian female from Hong Kong University face database. And we isolated each part like this. And each part and whole faces were presented in the block. And participants were asked to evaluate attractiveness in a 7-point scale. And there was no time constraint in evaluation, and also the order of parts and whole, and also each facial part within part section were randomized among the participants. And here you can see the result correlation between whole face and each facial part. And as you can see, both in male observers and female observers, the eyes have the strongest correlation, and then mouth and nose. But there seems no difference between male and female observers. But if you compare the perceived attractiveness level of the facial parts and the whole face, there was a difference between male observers and female observers. As can be seen here, in male observers, whole facial attractiveness was significantly lower than other parts. That was not observed in female observers. So we did regression analysis to understand this more in detail. And again, the intercept, the constant of the regression model was significantly lower in male observers compared to female observers. But there was no significant difference in coefficients of each facial part. So the findings from experiment 1 is attractiveness of facial parts had correlation with that of whole face in a similar way in both male and female observers. However, male observers evaluated attractiveness of whole lower than that of facial parts. But these findings raised further questions to us. For example, what of whole face made male observers to evaluate it less attractive? Because we used isolated facial parts in experiment 1, there are some missing information in it, and it includes configuration or face, skin texture, or contours. But because the missing information include configuration, there might be possible difference in the feature or configural process that males and females use. So in experiment 2 and experiment 3, we have compared the whole face with facial parts presented in 2 conditions. And in experiment 2, we prepared the fixed placeholder for each facial part and placed the parts to these locations. So the location of facial parts are fixed among the photos. And in experiment, and that means original second-order relation was not kept. And in experiment 3, we applied adaptive mask to the facial photo to keep its original configuration. And we compared whole face with these parts. Okay. And here is the experimental paradigm. It's almost similar to experiment 1, but the difference is since comparing whole face with parts was our main purpose, these blocks are put in the former half of the experiment. And here you can see the results. Again, perceived attractiveness of whole face was lower than facial parts in male observers. And the similar result was observed in regression analysis. Again, intercept for whole face was lower in male observers, but not in female observers. And the difference from experiment 1 was seen in coefficients too. Here, the coefficients of each facial parts were higher in female observers than male observers. And this is for experiment 3. The paradigm is the same. And here, we didn't see any difference in whole face and parts in male observers. And in regression analysis, again, there was no difference in the intercepts, but we observed higher coefficients in female observers compared to male observers. So to summarize the findings from experiment 1 to 3, in experiment 1 and experiment 2, where the configuration of original face was not kept, male observers tend to evaluate the attractiveness of whole lower than that of facial parts. But in experiment 3, where the original configuration was kept, there was no significant difference between that of whole and parts. And also, in experiment 2 and 3, contribution of parts seemed larger in female observers. So we are thinking that these findings may suggest that male observers are more sensitive to second-order relations, while female observers are more sensitive to features in facial attractiveness evaluation. Although our findings is still limited to the facial database we have used, because so far we used only one face database, and also we need to extend these findings to the people from other cultures to understand this phenomena more completely. But so far we are thinking that there is a gender difference in the usage of feature information and configural information in facial attractiveness evaluation. Thank you.
Any questions, Monica?
Very interesting. Actually, my brother's an anthropologist at Syracuse University. Studying female relations. Things like this question for many years. His findings are compatible with the evolutionary approach that men tend to favor women that look young, maybe even younger than they are, and so forth, whereas women are more influenced by even secondary things. So if you look only at the physiognomy or features of a male unadorned, they may be really quite ugly, but if they put them in a nice suit and sit in a nice car with them, they're quite attractive. So I'm wondering, to some extent, maybe it would be interesting to bring in some more of these kind of social things, maybe narrowing the variance so much by focusing only on the facial features and things. Not that that's not interesting too, but these other features can also be interesting.
That seems interesting. Thank you very much for the advice.
Is there a possibility for your results to be actually gotten because of differential social acceptability among different genders? Like, it is more socially acceptable for male than female to report, to say that the whole face is ugly. It's not actually the differences in perceptual processes that can account for your results. How do you deal with that problem if that exists?
Well, I didn't think of that possibility, but now we are thinking the reason of this difference can be our daily behavior. Because females apply facial makeup every day, and they tend to look at eyes, mouth, and nose separately from other facial parts. So maybe the repetition of those behavior can